Are you the person who cries at work? Everyone is looking at you, your heart begins to race, your hair stands up on your arms, you try your best to swallow it down. You can't concentrate on anything anyone else is saying. You begin to feel the tears moving up through your body, and your brain is screaming at you,
"Please don't cry, please don't cry, please don't cry."
but it feels completely out of your control and the tears fall. You want the whole world to swallow you up. That used to be me. In fact, it was so bad for me that in my early 20s, I actually Googled tear duct removal. It doesn't exist. I'm 35 years old now, and I can hold my together. I went from not being able to get through 3-minute presentations to now standing up at the front of conferences, presenting my work and pitching for jobs worth tens of thousands of pounds. In fact, people are usually surprised when they find out that I'm a crier. I have learnt how to manage my crying, and you can manage it too. This is important because not only do I know it's horrible if you are a person that cries, but also there are people who just can't handle you crying around them, and sadly they will judge you for it. People will think if you cry you are weak. They are wrong. Honestly, I'm like one of the most determined and confident people I know, so I still cry a lot. But nowadays I can hold it in until I'm ready to let it out. Crying, in my opinion, is actually really important, but I do want you to feel like you are in control of it. So here's what I've done over the years to help myself. Hello, it's lovely to have you here. My name is Hannah Bennyhood. I am an artist and architect, and in this corner of the internet I share my creative journey and the lessons I've learnt along the way. If that's something that you're interested in, please do give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel to see more. I post every 2 weeks. Yes, I do. Okay, so the times that my crying were absolutely at their worst was around crits. I studied architecture, and at the end of every term you have to pin up all your work and present it in front of the whole year, and then at least 3 critics basically slam it all in front of everybody. And I just found this process so difficult. So they were really tough, but saying that, there were just some stuff that I did that just didn't help myself. The main things were I didn't sleep, I didn't eat well, and I wasn't well hydrated. Just before crits, I did all-nighters, so I didn't sleep at all. I was eating McDonald's breakfasts, I was popping Pro Plus pills, and I was down in Lucozade. I was in no fit state to be able to present my work, and I really wasn't setting myself up for success. If you have a presentation, whether that be at university or at work, you need to get yourself in the best possible position to feel as good as you can to be able to present. When you are absolutely exhausted or really stressed or dehydrated, you are not in a position to be able to easily control your emotion. It is more important that you have your together than everything is finished and on the wall. Just think about it. If something's missing, you can verbally explain what should be there and what you're going to do next. But if everything's on the wall finished, but you're a quivering wreck, that doesn't actually make up for the fact that you have done all the work. You are part of the presentation, and you need to take that prep as seriously as you take the preparation of the work itself. Once you get to 5 p.m. the day before, just call it. Put your tools down, go home, have a restful evening, and that is the best way that you can prepare to actually be able to control yourself the day after. My next tip, if you are a nervous person, do not hold a piece of paper with your notes on. This is what you look and sound like. You hear that? It literally makes a noise. You do not want to outwardly signal to people that you are nervous. It doesn't mean that you can't have notes, but if you have notes, make sure you use a book, something that actually isn't going to make noise and be like, I'm nervous. Or you could use a tablet, but whatever you do, don't use a piece of paper. Before you go into a difficult presentation or a meeting, you need to practice. This practice cannot be in your head. It needs to be out loud and preferably to someone that you trust. Now, your practices are going to be bad, but that is okay. That is what practices are for. Practicing and hearing out loud where you might stumble means that you can prepare for the areas that you might be a little bit weaker and go into your meeting or your presentation with more confidence. My dad gave me this amazing advice that my friends still bring up to this day. He knew how much I struggled with crits, and one day he came up to me and handed me a fork. He told me to take this fork into my next crit, and if people were being horrible to me, all I had to do was simply hold up the fork and pretend that they were in jail. From that day, I took a fork into every single one of my crits, and actually I even took it into meetings for a couple of years when I started working. Did I ever lift it up to put my colleagues in jail? No, I didn't. When I felt like things were getting a little bit difficult for myself, I would kind of like play with this fork and kind of just giggle to myself at the absurdity of what my dad was suggesting. And it kind of just had this moment where it like distracted me and took me out of like my feelings and allowed me to kind of recoup and adjust back to the meeting or the presentation. If you feel the tears coming, you need to get to like a safe place and see if there's a way that you can kind of excuse yourself out of the situation. I personally was actually quite a fan of a silent desk cry, but that was because I had really lovely colleagues that sat either side of me, so they knew that I was absolutely fine and that we could just talk it through. But I know some people that used to go for walks around the block. I knew other people that used to go to the disabled toilets. Like, you just need a place where you feel like you can just let it out, wash your face, brush yourself off, take some deep breaths, and then get back into the action. As well as a safe place, you need a safe person to be able to talk to. Someone who understands that you're a crier. Maybe they're a crier themselves, maybe they have siblings that are criers, and they're just not like intimidated by it. They'll kind of just let you get on with it and then talk to you about the situation and what to do next, basically. These people are so important because they're not fazed by the fact that you're crying. You don't have to waste time by like explaining that you're actually fine and this is just this thing that your body does. So you can just get on with deciding what to do next and make a plan. It's obviously really helpful if you have one of these people specifically at work, but if not, maybe you could call someone on the phone. My last tip is to warn people. If I'm going into a situation where I know I'm going to be triggered and I'm going to cry, I do like to give people a bit of a heads up because I think it makes everyone in the room feel a bit better. As an example, when I was in practice, I called a meeting with like my boss and my director because I was completely overwhelmed with my workload and I was really struggling, so I wanted to ask for help. I knew that I was probably going to cry in this meeting. I was absolutely exhausted. I was really stressed. I felt like I was failing at my job because I was asking for additional support and I was calling in senior management to talk about it. And I knew they were going to be nice to me and that was what was going to trigger me off. I just knew it. So as soon as they came in and we started the meeting, I said, the first thing I want to say is that I'm probably going to cry in this meeting. I think I even like slammed down like a packet of tissues onto the table and I was like, but I still want to carry on and I want to get through this and I'm absolutely fine. I'm just tired. This kind of gave them a heads up, like they knew what was coming and also that it wasn't anything they specifically said that was going to set me off. I think when you do that, it kind of lets people know how self-aware you are of what's actually happening. And it also meant that I could get on with the meeting instead of thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna cry, because they knew I was gonna cry. As predicted, they were nice to me and I cried. There are also different kinds of therapies you can seek if you want to try and get a handle of your crying. I have done something similar to CBT, but not specifically CBT. And I found that really helpful as a way to kind of control my inner stuff. Over the years, I have realised I am just the kind of person that feels a lot of things. And yes, that means that I can get upset, but it is far from depression because I feel equally as much in the opposite direction. I laugh a lot, I feel a lot of joy, I fall in love, I also can get angry, I can get jealous, like I feel all the things in abundance. Actually though, I kind of think this is a superpower. My favourite description of art is the transferal of emotions. I feel a certain way, I make art from that emotion, then you experience that art and you feel an emotion. So the fact that I have a lot of emotions means that I also have a huge amount of inspiration for my work. It also means that I can feel a lot of emotions from other people's artwork. And honestly, that is one of the great pleasures of life. So if you are a crier, I hope some of these tips have helped you out today. Chin up, you'll be fine, brush yourself off, get back out there. If you've found this video helpful, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more. See you next time.